Well, here's some more on this 65 Galaxie 500 convertible. I've shown you before. I've worked the floor pan, and I've got the trunk pan in place. Finished that up earlier today. All welded in. Really just need some seam sealer. I'm waiting on quarter panel pieces to arrive so I can start fixing those. But I've got a bigger issue, and I've said it before, I like challenges, and this is definitely going to be a challenge. Let me get up on this step stool here. This area here is like a rain gutter for the convertible top, and it's, as you can see, really in bad shape. So I'm going to have to remove that and try to fabricate a new one somehow. And this side is the worst, the passenger side. The driver's side has some issues as well. It's kind of hard to see from here, but that'll have to be addressed too. But this will probably be the biggest challenge, I think, to rebuilding this car. But we'll see how it goes. Alright, so I started working this piece out. Didn't take a whole lot of effort because it was so bad, but there were some spot welds on the end down here where it met that point, and then there was some, see a spot weld down there, which was this end. But you can see this thing's just gone, and by the looks of it, it was designed to, channel water off of the convertible top. So this will take a little figuring to make one of these, but I'm sure I can probably come up with something. Then I also have to get this secondary piece out, I believe. Or I may just work from that one and make a new flange. I'm not sure yet, but I'll figure it out. But that's the next phase on this project. Alright, so I think I've decided to leave this upper portion of this structure in because it's spot welded to the quarter panel. I don't want to break that up, so I trimmed it off, and this metal is pretty thick. It's hard to tell on the camera, but it's pretty substantial. What I wanted to show you was, here's something kind of neat. We just did a Ford Ranger that was hitting the front end, and this is the bumper from the Ford Ranger. I laid this piece of metal, whoops, wrong way, on top of this thing. Nope, I had it right the first time. And it's essentially the same radius as what I need. And it's a little bit thicker, but that's okay. It'll be stronger that way. There's some self-tapper type bolts that hold the convertible top on. So you need something for them to bite into, and this bumper will do just fine. All you gotta do is trim that out and make the shape that I need from the pieces I have left over, and that'll take care of that one part of it. And then I'll just have to work on this piece again, like I showed you earlier. So, but sometimes you just got to be creative and find things that'll work for you. In this case, it's a Ford Ranger bumper, I think it's 2000 model, that happens to be the same radius. So, works for me. So here's my first steps in making this piece. I've taken some leftover sheet metal I had. I think it was from putting floor pans in a 65 Mustang. I'm sorry, the 70 Mustang. Some leftover sheet metal. I'm going to make this in two pieces. I just don't have a piece that's long enough to duplicate this all in one shot. So far, I've made the curved piece, just trimmed it out, and all I'm going to try to do is duplicate the flanges. And I'm going to use a bucking bar, or we call them bucking bars when we work on airplanes, but a block and a body hammer, and I'm just going to roll the flanges around that. I'm probably going to clamp the thing in a vise and shape it. So that's the plan right now. So that takes care of part one of building the curve, and what I had to do is make some relief cuts around that perimeter and rolled it, like I said, over the bar. All I did is mount the bar in a vise and then take the sheet metal and follow it around, and I used a regular body hammer And then I also use this kind of a specialty hammer. It's got these rounded ends on it, and just shaped it up. So it turned out pretty good. Once I get that finished, then the next part is I have to build the next part of the leg right here, which will run from here back. Then I'll make this out of this piece. That'll be easier because there won't be any curve involved. And then weld those two together, and then make the top piece. It'll go up in here to finish out the top up there. So it's coming along. Well, I think I've pretty much completed this piece. There's the original, which I'll have to take this bracket off and transfer it. And here's what I would come up with as a replacement. Now this is 2 pieces, and there's a seam here, which I may end up cutting loose and welding it, you know, kind of a butt weld or something like that. It's not really necessary though. I can do a lap weld there because all this will be really filled up with seam sealer, and that'll keep water from getting behind it. So I think it turned out pretty good. Just got to get that other piece made that'll complete the top half, and I'm going to get started on that here in just a minute. So there's the initial mock-up of the channel in place. Now this is designed to be a drain, so you can see how this gets narrow and then it gets wide down here. I think the original intent was for this to drain through this opening and then go down to the bottom of the quarter panel or the rocker panel and drain out. Not the best of designs, but you know, they were trying to find a way to get the rain or debris out of the car. Really what that led to is stuff accumulating in the rocker panel or the quarter panel and then causing it to rot out. So now the next step is I have to build the piece that's going to go in here and fill this gap between the two. So looks good so far. Well, it took a little cutting, but that's the strip I cut out of that bumper. Pretty useless otherwise, but this ought to give me the curve that I need to make that last piece. I haven't test fitted it yet, but after a little trimming, I'll trim it up just a little bit. It's a little too long. Can't get it in there, but I'll see how that goes. I'll trim it up a little bit and see how it fits. Well, there's a strip mocked up in place. I'll push it back. It'll have that slight angle like on the other side. And then I had to cut some finger cuts here to make it stretch out a little bit. No big deal. And then I'll weld it here. And then what I'm going to do is once everything's in place and I'm happy with it, I will weld down in the trough. Probably won't do an extensive weld, probably just do maybe half-inch long spot welds every few inches. And what that'll do is it'll give it enough support and strength that I can come back and fill that with a seam sealer and still be solid and drain the water away as it was intended. So getting pretty close to being finished. So there's the end result. Got that piece in the back, welded in, had to do the finger cuts, welded those shut, got that in place, and then the lower trough, you know, in comparison to what was there, leaking water everywhere and rusted out, I'd say it's pretty close. It'll serve the same purpose. You know, sometimes you just got to figure out a different way to make these things. It's not an exact match to what's over here, but it serves the same purpose, and it creates that drain just like it had on this side, but just in a little bit different form. Now, once I clean all this up, I will seam seal down in here in this trough, and that'll create a watertight gutter that'll allow this thing to drain properly. So I'm pretty happy with this.